Malort is an iconic Chicago liqueur. It's the drink people love to hate and to pull unsuspecting pranks on those who aren't familiar with it. But the story behind it is fascinating. A Chicago beer and travel writer, I love to say that about you, has written a new book on Jeppson's Malort, digging into its history and roots. It came out in the fall, and it has just been causing quite the kerfuffle, Josh Knoll, which is why I wanted to have you in. Welcome back to Fox 32.
Thanks, great to be here.
Okay, so Malort, for those who do not know, tell them, everybody, what is it?
So Malort is quintessential Chicago, is one important thing, but what it is it's a bitter liqueur. So it's a very simple product. It's basically neutral spirit, meaning basically vodka. It's aged on wormwood, which is a bitter herb, and then it gets a little bit of sugar. Okay. So it's basically just a bitter liqueur that was available only in Chicago for decades and decades and decades, and it's had a success story, which is explored in the book, and it's now available farther afield. But historically, it's tied very deeply to Chicago culture.
I think you said that it's a badge of pride for our city, isn't it? So Malort's been around for what, over 100 years now?
Not quite 100, but as Swedish immigrant Carl Jeppson introduced it to really his fellow Swedes. He wasn't trying to take some kind of big swing with this back in Prohibition. It was just, he was from southern Sweden, and he knew his fellow Swedes would recognize it, so he started selling it to them. And that was in the 20s or 30s, we don't know exactly. But it has endured that entire time, but didn't become popular until very recently.
And I love that because the book is fascinating. The book has this interesting history that goes back to Sweden, but the real story is a love story that takes place here in Chicago. Between not only two people, but with the determination to try to keep Malort alive, because it almost died its death several times, right?
Several times, yep.
Yeah, so what was it to keep it going again?
To get it started going?
Yeah.
So there's sort of multiple layers to that, to the answer. And I knew that answering that question, how did Malort, this thing that people typically don't like because it's so bitter, yet they love it in the fact that they don't like it and really want to share it, how did that become popular again? And there's a lot of layers to it, but it basically comes down to sort of a cultural shift in how we eat and drink. And the fact that it was really local to Chicago. Chicago loves things that are local to Chicago.
Chicago loves Chicago.
It had authentic history. It had all these decades of history behind it, like we talked about. And there was sort of this shift, like we were more interested in bitter flavors and bold flavors. And Malort just happened to dovetail into that, and this new generation discovered it.
And they have embraced it. So I love bitter and bold. I want to share my video with you. I don't know if you've seen it. I had my first experience with Malort on a beautiful summer day in the patio at the Duck Inn, Chicago. And I was one of those unsuspecting people. And the thing about Malort, as you witnessed from this video, is it takes a few minutes, right, Josh, for it to kick in.
Yeah, I've tried to time it. It's about 8 seconds. Yes.
Oh, it's 8 seconds, and still,
there it is. There it is.
There's the Malort face, which has become a thing. So if you've never tried Malort, it's become a fun thing for people to get people from out of town to try it because they have no idea how it tastes. But you are a lover of Malort. There's some video now of people giving Malort face. You like this stuff.
I enjoy it. I like, and a lot of people do in reality. So it's bitter, but it also has a lot of grapefruit flavor, but sort of like the grapefruit pith flavor rather than, you know, the nice grapefruit.
Not the actual good grapefruit.
This, if you bite into the grapefruit. So I like bitter and I love grapefruit. So it works for me, and it does wonders to settle the stomach after a big meal.
So, and that's the thing, because it was a digestif, if you will, right? It was during Prohibition, allegedly medicinal. And you were saying one day you were sitting in your kitchen and you had a shot of Malort, and you thought, wait a minute, I need to learn more about this, huh?
Yeah. So I do enjoy it and keep a bottle at home. And it was after a large meal when I had to settle the stomach after the kids went to bed.
Right.
And I poured myself a shot and had the light bulb moment of, I wonder if there's a book in this, because I knew people were fascinated by it. I was fascinated by it, but I also knew that there was so much of the history that we didn't know, and I wondered if digging into it might reveal a really great story to be told. And as you pointed out, it's really a story of people and relationships and why people love Malort and how cultural tastes change.
So
it wound up being a a more interesting story than I even expected.
This is my second time trying Malort.
This is my second. No. This is about my 4,022nd.
He wanted me to do one more, and I'm going to take a little sip. You ready?
Take a big sip.
I don't think I can do a big one.
Oh, big.
my gosh.
Oh,
I
there
hate
it is.
as much as
There
I
it is.
did the first time.
That was less than 8 seconds.
Right? Wow. And this is going to linger. Okay, the name of the book, it's so much fun, a great read. Malort, The Redemption of a Revered
Yeah, the
Reviled
Malort did it to you.
Spirit.
Yep.
And you can buy it at all bookstores, and it's really fun if you want to follow Josh on social because he's doing a lot of speaking engagements, and it's so fun to hear the story behind the story. I highly recommend. Thanks for coming in. Happy holidays.
And to you.
Yeah, great Christmas present, too. Thanks, Josh. We'll be right back.